Hello everyone and welcome to another coding session. How about that? How about that? But you didn't expect that shit to happen. Today is well, I mean, I'm doing a Monday session, but since it's a late night, it's already Tuesday. But it's like 1 a.m. right now, almost 1 a.m. 46 minutes actually, to be precise, if you're interested in that preciseness. So, and on the Monday session, we are doing web development. Specifically, I allocated this slot for developing emote gem, which is basically a simple website that generates animated BTTV emotes from static images. So let me actually put that in the description, you know, right, as usual. So let me see, it's gonna be emote jam. So, and on the previous stream, we started to develop a very simple front-end framework for this website. So the framework is called Grecha.js. You can check it out here, of course, Grecha.js. So it's going to be in the description if you're interested in this thing. I also refactor it a little bit, so yeah, the whole framework now is around 65 lines of code. Yeah, so it actually, on the previous stream, we developed more, but then I compressed everything. So I basically extracted a list of mundane tags, and I basically crunched them and automatically generated their implementations, right, for such tags as h1, h2, h3, pa, div, span, and maybe even more. We're gonna add more mundane tags in there. You can quite easily just automatically implement them. Right, so that comprised the whole framework to 65 lines, but it's going to be bigger in the future, right? So as we add more and more features. And this is a framework for developing single page applications. So what you can do in this framework, you can have a page which you can click things on, and you can have different pages. And as you can see, it even automatically manages the URL, so it has a built-in router. And yeah, this is a single page application that doesn't need any server. So yeah, and all of that is in a framework of 65 lines of code. Right. So what I was planning to do today is to try to integrate to some extent this framework into emote gem, or at least try to see how difficult it would be, right? So emote gem looks like this. So for those who doesn't know, you basically can upload any image in there. Let's actually upload sus. Kind of sus image, not gonna lie. So, and then you can apply different filters on this thing. So you can, yeah, hopper, overheat, bounce, circle, laughing, blob, elevator, some different stuff. Peak, I suppose peak just, you know, peeks out of the corner. Matrix looks kind of sus, not gonna lie. Yeah, and also flag. So, and after that, after you pick the filter, right, you can render it, right? You can just render this entire thing, and you can then download this image, and you can upload it to BTTV, or maybe use in Discord or something like that. So yeah, that's basically what it is. That's basically what it is. It's completely open source. You can do whatever you want with the source code if you can read the source code, of course. And yeah, so the way we're going to integrate our front-end frameworks. So there is at least 3 components in here, as you can see. Like there's 3 sections, right? So the select image section, the select filter section, and render the GIF. And I just want to see how difficult or easy it is to basically wrap these 3 sections into separate Grecha.js widgets that you can just like put into your web page, right? So in this framework, by the way, you describe the DOM in sort of like a React style, but using only functions. You know, React has JSX, where you have embedded tag language into the JavaScript, so then you use a preprocessor and it expands into just, you know, a bunch of classes and whatnot. We don't have any preprocessor. You create a DOM like this, literally by calling functions, and it's actually quite compact. I would say it's more compact than using XML tags, in my opinion, right? Because you can even compare that, right? So how would you describe a div in XML, right? Here's your div, and here's your text inside of the div, right? And in the Grecha.js, this is how it's going to look like, right? It's, you save 4 characters, at least for the div tag. But if you have shit ton of div tags, imagine how much space you save in the file. I don't know why it's that important, but I mean. So anyway, let's see what we can do in here. I'm gonna go into emote jam, and I'm gonna fetch the other stuff, I suppose. Just see, maybe we have new changes in here or stuff like that. We don't really have anything special, so everything is up to date. So let me also go to the Grecha.js and also fetch the latest changes just in case, because you never know, Everything seems to be okay. So, and the way we're gonna try to integrate our framework into our website is first by copy-pasting a file from one folder to another one. There we go. We almost integrated them together. They're almost integrated. Cool. The next step we need to do is we need to include that file into the index.html. So we have a section where we include all the scripts. So let's actually include, let me say, oh, this one has to be an HTML mode to work properly. So this one is going to be script, and this one is going to be src, and we're going to put there what, Grecha.js. There we go. Our website now includes this framework that consists of 65 lines of code. We just included 65 lines of code. Isn't that amazing? I think it's goddamn amazing. My god. All right, so let me start the website. I'm gonna just start HTTP server at the port 6969. That was a bad idea, by the way. I should have actually put ampersand in here because I want to run it in asynchronous mode so it doesn't block Emacs. And then I'm gonna go in here, and everything seems to be working. This is a local copy of something doesn't work. This is supposed to be a local copy of emote jam, but something got jammed. So fail to execute compile on WebAssembly. What the hell is that? Is that, oh shit. This is so dumb. Okay. So on one of the previous sessions, I actually run on this port a completely different application. Right, and apparently the JavaScript from that old application got cached. And now it's trying to run that cached version of the JavaScript. Nice. Web was a good idea. Specifically, I think the JavaScript that is cached is from the WASI stream. So if you're interested in WASM and WASI, I would recommend to check it out. So this is the WASI stream. So yeah, we were running the server for WASI application on the same port, and the code from this stream actually got cached, and this is what is currently trying to execute. So I'm gonna put this thing in the description. So it's gonna be WASI stream. There we go. So you can find it in here if you're interested in this kind of stuff. It was a pretty cool stream. I wonder how we can fix that problem. Maybe I can open the DevTools And maybe, as far as I know, yeah, disable cache, and I'm gonna just press some stuff, and everything is working. Yes, everything is working. Everything is working. All right, and as far as I know, we also. So I just wanted to find the Greater.js. Here's the Greater.js, and everything seems to be okie dokie karaoke. Isn't that amazing? I think it's goddamn amazing. My god, it is so amazing. All right, so let's take a look at what it takes to actually sort of wrap this component into Greater.js component. So in the HTML, how that component looks like. What do we usually even call it? So it's called custom file, right? So custom preview and stuff like that. So maybe this entire thing has to be called just, you know, preview, custom preview. So I don't even know. We need to come up with some sort of a name. So let me think. So we have a lot of WebGL in here that will probably have to move to some place. But for now, let's create the Greater.js component. So what that component is going to be called? So do we already have a preview name taken? So get element by ID. So the canvas is the preview. Okay. Oh boy, it's kind of difficult to actually. Maybe image selector. Let's call it image selector. Right. So this is going to be just a function, and I don't think it needs to accept anything in here for now. Right. So and the next thing we're going to do, we're going to return the DOM in here. So what kind of things do we even have in here? So it's definitely going to be a div, right? And that div consists of another div, right? Which has some sort of an input, right? And then this one also has an image in here. So an image actually has its own clown PNG, right? There we go. Coding clown PNG. So for the outer div, we have an attribute class equal to widget. So this is what we got. All right. So this is the outer thingy for the div. I wonder what's going to be better to. Yeah. Let's actually put it like this. So the div itself has the class. Class equal to widget element, right? Not elevator, element, right? So this is the widget element, and inside of this thing, yeah, this one is also attribute. Might as well actually copy paste this entire thing, right? Might as well copy paste it, and this one also has to have this kind of stuff, and also it needs some sort of an ID. Right, so this one has an ID. Custom preview. So basically what I'm doing in here, I'm taking this thing and I'm translating it to Greater.js. So, so that's pretty much it. For the input is going to be interesting, I think. Because we don't even have input in there. As far as I can tell, we don't even have an input in there. So, okay, attribute ID custom file, right? So custom file, and another one is going to be attribute type file. There we go. So this is our image selector. To be fair, I don't really want to depend on I don't really want to depend on this kind of IDs. I want the component to be a black box, right? So the system should just create this component and it should throw in inputs into it. This one doesn't really accept any inputs. It only interacts with the user. right? That's what we know for sure. This thing only interacts with the user. And also it has the output. And what's going to be the output? I suppose the output essentially is going to be user selected an image, right? User selected an image or an image changed. So it's going to generate events, and then you'll probably be able to add your own sort of callback for this kind of events and whatnot. So we'll see how it's gonna go, and that way I think you should not depend on IDs and stuff like that, because the logic that needs those IDs is going to be encapsulated inside of this component completely, hopefully, right? And that way, like, maybe we can completely get rid of these IDs. That would be actually kind of cool. So, and that way maybe we're gonna have something like image input, and this image input is gonna be just something that has a type file, and that way you can simply say something like image input. There we go. So do we need any other IDs? To be fair, I don't think so, but image preview. So this is going to be something like this, right? So this is the image preview. We don't need an ID in here, right? And there we go. There we go. This is an image preview. I'm not even sure why I have a div in here, but I mean, I do have it, so it is what it is. So image preview. There we go. So and I also have a class widget in here. Okay, so once we created that, usually the next thing we do, we set up different, yeah, as you can see, we set up different callbacks. So this one is going to be custom preview on load. Maybe, just maybe, we need to add like special callbacks in there. Special callbacks. So, and this one is going to be result, right? So this is the actual component in here. So this is going to be result, and maybe in here we're going to start adding special methods, right? So in the special methods are going to be something like a thing that is going to be called when the image was selected, right? So I think this thing should be similar to event listeners, right? So event on if let's put it this way, on changed, and it's going to be something like this, and essentially this is going to be a function, right, that accepts a callback that is called when something is changed, right? And maybe we're going to have like a several of these callbacks, right? So it's going to be something like callbacks. This is going to be the list. Right, and so here they are. Maybe, I don't know, I think const only affects whether you can reassign this variable or not, right? So this is the only thing that callback affects. So I think if you have something const, you can still like append into that array, right? So if I have something like const access, right, and then I can push into this array, I still can do that. So const only affects whether you can reassign it or not. All right, so and here what we're gonna have here is a callbacks, push the callback. So maybe we can call these things on changed callbacks, on changed callbacks, and we push that specific callback in here. So the next thing, when something changes in here, we're going to be like iterating through all of these callbacks, and we're going to be notifying like everyone who's interested in these kind of things, right? So, and this feels more like a custom event listener, and I wonder if in JavaScript there is a way to have your own custom events and custom event listeners. Custom events. Is that a thing that you can have? Creating and triggering events. Okay. So Okay, so we have event build, creating a custom event. And what is the element? Dispatch event. This one is interesting. Dispatch event. Event target. So we have a thing called event target. Event target is a DOM interface implemented by object that can receive events and may have listeners for them. Okay, so maybe this is the mechanism that we have to reuse in here. That's actually pretty cool. So that way, we probably don't need any of this stuff, right? We probably don't need any of this stuff. Essentially, what we'll have to do when something happens is just dispatch event new event updated or something, right? Or changed, right? And I suppose you can also attach additional stuff in there. Adding custom data, custom event. Okay, so custom event. All right, custom event. And what we can put in there, we can put the image data, right? Image data that you can then use in a texture and whatnot. Okay, so this is actually way better. This is actually way better. I suspected that there is already, mechanism that you can use, and I was right apparently. So yeah, you can just grab this mechanism, and that's pretty convenient. All right. I want to actually kind of test this kind of stuff, but I'm not 100% sure how. So maybe we can try to add this sort of like a small image selector into the page alongside with this one, right? So let's actually put something like h2 let's actually use the snippets. h2 testing, right? Testing. So this is basically a testing entry point. All right, and what I want to do in here now, when we do onload, right, this one is also testing. Document get element by ID testing, right, and then append child image selector, and let's see how it is going to work. Alrighty. Okay, so we have a testing, but we don't have the actual image in here, which is kind of sus, probably because we have some sort of an error. Input is not defined. Okay, so I wonder what is an input tag. Is that like a mundane tag, or does it require, like, can it have children? I feel like it cannot have children, right? So it's one of those tags that is like inline tag. Is there any term for such tags in web? Form 3 definition tag specifies, maybe not, but in any case, I'm going to go to the Gretcher.js and I'm going to just create the input tag. So it's going to be function input. I suppose it's not going to accept anything. I'm not even sure if it needs to accept anything, but it can accept type. I think this is one of the things we can accept, because when you define an input, you instantly immediately want to define its type. That makes sense to me, at least. So we're going to define input, right, and then we're going to assign an attribute here, type, there we go, and we have an input here. All right, so let's go back, let's refresh everything, and there we go. Here we have that, which is totally identical. They're now identical completely, which is kind of cool, not gonna lie. So we have a widget and you have a whole section testing, and yeah, but when you change this thing, it does not automatically change the preview. So this is one of the things that we'll need to fix in here. So the original image, I think it's called preview, custom preview, right? And on loading this entire thing, yeah, we have on change, right? We have on change. These files. So I suppose we'll need to actually go and assign event listener to the select image selector, right? Because we have this input, right? So this is the image input, image input add event listener, and the question is, how do we know what kind of events got generated? Okay, so let's say something like changed. I'm gonna try to assume that that's what happened, and here we have the probably event, and we can try to print. So let's do console log. Right, and it's gonna be like this, console log. This, I want to print this just to see what's there, and the event itself. There we go, there we go. So now, okay, so it's a favicon, nothing particularly special, and I think that didn't generate any event. So on change. Oh, this is probably because it's called change, not changed. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so if I try to update this thing, there we go. This is the element itself. Event contains this kind of stuff. Does it contain files? I know. Well, you can take the files from this thingy, right? You can take the files from this thingy, something like files, right? Something like files, and if I try to run it one more time, here is the list of files, and we also have a type and stuff like that, so we have everything in here, so we have a special event. So here's the thing, here's the problem with the Grecia.js components. You can't destroy them, right? Essentially, you created the component, and that component added event listener to this element, right? And there's no way to remove that event listener. And I wonder if it matters that much. I guess if it's attached to the node, right, that is internal node of the component, and then you detach this node and forget about it, throw it away, I think it's not going to cause the problem. But if your component, like for instance a router, adds event listeners to the window, you cannot just throw away the router and expect that the garbage collector will clean everything up, because the function, right, that you put in there still keeps references to this entire component. So I don't really know how precisely JavaScript system works, but I would assume if you have an event listener to the node that is forgotten, maybe it doesn't cause that much problems. Maybe it does. We'll probably have to research that. So I'm not a web developer again, so I don't know. Maybe it does cause problem. Maybe it does not. Anyway, so we have a change in here, and what I want to put in this change is probably I want to trigger something in image preview, right? So I want to send this data to the image preview. So custom preview. So, and in here, right, custom on change, right, custom on change, and we take a custom preview and we assign a new object to it. So that's precisely what we want to do in here, right? So I'm going to take custom preview src, and I'm assigning create object URL from this specific file, right? From this specific file. That's really strange, but okay. And that will trigger an update event in a custom preview. So it's actually not called custom preview, it's called image preview. So you have an image input, you update image input, that updates image preview, and in image preview, we're going to add event listener. And I suppose the event that we're looking for is load, right? So it's going to be function. can also have an error. So let's put it this way: console image updated, right? Image updated, and I suppose we can also do something like image preview add event listener error, and in that particular case, I suppose what we're gonna do in here is so custom file, yeah, I suppose image input, image input, and this src equal to error png. All right, so I think I did that. I think I managed to do that. And what's interesting in here, what we probably have to do, we have to dispatch a custom event. Dispatch event, new custom event, something like image selected, right? Image selected, and then we can add custom data in here. Right, and then whoever created this component, they will be able to add their own like event listener to this custom event, and they don't have to think about this chain of events. Right, this chain of events is completely now encapsulated in image selector. Right, since we have two components in here, we have like two element chain. First, the input updates, and it sends the update to image, and image updates, and it sends the update to the rest of the element to update their own thing. Now this chain of two things are going to be encapsulated into a single component, and you don't have to worry about it. You have to worry about a single event, which is whether updated image or not. You don't need to think about errors in here, so if error happens, you will never know about that. It's just like it's a matter of this thing. Or maybe not. Well, if error happens, we should still send an update. Right, we should still send an update. Oh, it will automatically send here, right? So it will basically set error PNG, and it will redirect back to here, and then the image will be updated, and everything is going to be notified. Okay, so sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. All right, so that's pretty nice. Pretty nice. All right, and it says image updated, image debated, image updated. That's pretty poog. That's pretty poog. Not gonna lie. And let's think how we're gonna do all of these things. So the next step is going to be actually dispatching the event that something is updated. And then we'll have to encapsulate this thing into a separate component, and we should expose a method from this component to accept images, and we will have to connect these two components together, right? We'll have to connect them together and see how they react to each other, right? So that way these things become reusable components that will be able to even copy paste in different places, and I want them to be completely decoupled from each other. I think it's going to be a very, very cool thing, very useful thing. So okay, guys. So I want to make a small break, just a second. Just need to gather my thoughts. All right, so let's try to dispatch the event with the image data to the rest of the components that could be interested in this kind of stuff. So custom, yeah, so you just create a custom event with a custom name and stuff like that, and you attach some data to it. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So the component relative to which we're actually sending all of that is going to be a result, and in here we probably need, you know, some data, right? And it just depends what we precisely are doing in there. So this one is going to be custom preview. In a custom preview, so we're just sending ourselves, I suppose, because when we create a texture from an image, right, you can create textures straight up from an image tag. which is okay, which is fine, I suppose. So it means here we can actually do something like image data, and we're gonna sell ourselves. We're gonna sell this image. Yeah, so since the component is called image selector, right, the event that is going to be dispatched is going to be image selected, right, and the image itself is going to be sent in there, right. So because that's the data, and then you can construct the texture out of this entire thing. All right, makes sense. So now I just appended the the selector. Might as well actually save it somewhere here, so it's gonna be something like this, and in here, right, for some reason I cannot just add a new line in here. Okay, thank you very much. Add event listener, and we're gonna listen to image selected, and the function is going to take the event, right, or maybe we'll just call it e, and let's just, you know, print it. Okay, console log. Let's actually wrap things around in here, right? Wraps things around. Console log image selected, right? And we're gonna provide the event, and let's see if event actually contains these things we're interested in. All right, so let me see now. All right, so this is the testing. Yeah, we already received custom event, and in a custom event, do we have the data? So SOC target type, I didn't see the data though. How can we know that we've got the data? Maybe we can just do something like, I better take a look at this thing, right? Detail, it is called detail. All right. Detail is null actually, so that means oh, you're supposed to put it into the detail, aren't you? Ah, I see what's going on. So let's put all of that into the detail. Detail, and let's put it like this. So this one is going to be. Let's keep printing this entire thing. All right. So, and we have a detail, and here is the image data, and image data is the image widget. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we finished the image selector component. This is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. I really like that. So the next component that we probably need to implement is the image filter selector, rather. Yeah. It has to be called filter selector. Let's see what we can do in here. So this one is going to be filter selector, right? And in here, yeah, we'll have to do a lot of things in here, because here we'll have to initialize OpenGL and whatnot, and it's actually a lot of work, to be fair. It is in fact a lot of work, and also we establish like animation loop and whatnot. Oh boy, but essentially here we'll have to, well, we can just copy paste this entire stuff there and don't worry about it, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. Also, we need to move the on drop and drag over, yeah, to the customized thingy. Though we can expose these two lines in the file selector as a method. Right, that's essentially what we can do. We can expose them as a method, but probably not for now. But the way we probably gonna do that is just result. So send files, right? Send files, and this one is going to be simply a function that accepts the files. and it's going to just do that thing. And when we're handling the events, when we do document on event listener, blah, 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 we're going to be calling this function, but not for now. So maybe I'm going to put it to do in here. Image selector component does not handle drag and drop. There we go. Does not handle these thingies. So filter selector. Let's take a look at the filter selector. So filter, select a filter. So this one is pretty straightforward. Yet again, it's just a bunch of divs and whatnot. So this one is going to be something like, oh boy. So if it's a filter selector, so it's called filter list, right? This one is going to be filter list, and the filter list is essentially a div which contains a text, right? It contains filter, this thingy, right? And the next thing it contains here is a select, and we don't need an ID in here, right? We don't need an ID in here. So, and maybe because of that, the filter list in fact has to be this simple select, right? And we don't have a select in Gretcher.js, but doesn't really matter right now. All right, so, and filter preview. This is the filter preview, this is the canvas, and does canvas, I think canvas is just a mundane tag, so that means I can just set some of these attributes in here like this. So it's going to be width 112, then it's going to be height, then it's going to be class widget element, right? So this is going to be class widget element, and to be fair, maybe it could be actually done a little bit later. Okay, so and in here we're going to have a result, which is essentially div with the attribute class widget, right? So this is the class widget, and in here we have another div with the attribute class widget element, right? So in that div we have a text filter, and then we have a filter list. There we go. That's what we have in here. We're going to be having it like that, and then filter preview. There we go. Cool. So we composed everything we wanted to compose, and after that we're going to be returning all of that stuff. Nice. And we'll have to basically move the Opengl initialization code into the filter selector, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so let me see if this entire thing is gonna even work. So so let's put it like this. It's gonna be entry. I'm gonna put this entire thing like that. So entry append child, entry append child filter selector. Right, so now we have a filter selector in here. And let's refresh the page. Do we have anything in here? No, we don't, and this is because we don't have a select. Let's go to Gretcher.js, and as far as I know, select, does it accept? I think select is a mundane, straight up mundane tag. I just made up the word. I'm pretty sure the word is, the term is actually completely different. HTML select. Okay, let me take a look. So yeah, it actually can have children and stuff like that, so it is totally fine for us to make it a mundane tag. So I'm going to go to the Gretcher.js, and I'm going to just straight up put a select in here. Right. There we go. So what do we have in here? Everything. Okay, so here we have a filter and all of this good stuff. So we'll probably also have a canvas, hopefully. Where is the canvas? Here's the canvas, but it's not really properly, how to say that, properly aligned, right, properly aligned. I have a little bit of a fever right now for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe I'm getting sick slowly. Oh yeah, so I do remember that I wanted to make this thing something like this. Right, there we go. And is it going to be working? Something. Okay. So yeah, there we go. So here is the canvas. It's actually aligned perfectly. Everything looks okie dokie karaoke. So this is where we initialize all the components. We put them into several variables because we want to like keep track of these variables. So next thing we need to do Opengl initialization. So we do have a canvas, right? And the next thing we want to do in here probably is to get a JL context of that canvas. So this one is going to be filter preview, right? So here's the filter preview. We get a context and no anti-aliasing or any of these jazz. Also, we want to throw an exception if something goes wrong. For example, client does not support WebGL or whatnot. After that, we want to enable a blending and stuff like that, right? We want to enable blending. And there we go. So also we have a filters. Oh, all right. Yes, I see. We also have these things. So filter list. So we go through all of the filters, and this is the filter select. So we have to move a lot of things in here. We have to move a lot of things in there. But maybe that's fine. Maybe we can extract filter list into its own component as well. That would be interesting actually. So filter list is its own component, and then filter selector would be a component that uses filter list. So, and all this logic of actually populating the filter list is going to be inside of the construction of that filter. So that kind of makes sense to me. And also it can add automatically its own like wheel event and whatnot, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so let me see what we can do in here. So function filter list. All right, and to be fair, it may accept the filters as the parameter, but maybe we can just keep relying on the global name for now, at least for now. So this one is going to be just a result, and it's going to be simply select. All right, there we go. So and then I'm going to be iterating through all the names in the filters, right? And then I'm going to do result. Add new option and that name. There we go. And after that I can just return this entire thing. So do I do anything else with these things? And then on filter change, I also need to notify somebody. So on filter change, I suppose what I'm going to do, I'm going to just throw an event, and it's like responsibility of whoever uses this component to handle that event and do something about it. All right. All right. So it probably also makes sense for me to move this entire thing in here, right? Populating the filter list. Filter list. So in here, this is the result, right? This is the component. So wheels prevent default. And this unchanged. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So let's go back down there. Filters select. And we need to add another event listener in here. So it's going to be result, add event listener, change. Right, and this is going to be a function that does other things. And in here, we're actually sending the filter, the whole filter. And you know what? I think we can do that. So let me try to do that. So this is going to be a result. Result dispatch event, new custom event. So this one is going to be filter changed, and in here we can have a detail, right? Detail for the filter, and the actual filter is going to be something like this. Options selected, options 0. All right. There we go. So this. I wonder. Wait a second. When I refer to this inside of an object, I suppose I'm referring. Yeah, I think it should be all right. I'm pretty sure it should be all right. But I mean, just in case, I can always just say result, right? So, okay, so we have result add event changed, and then changed filter, and we can forward further this thing. But maybe that is actually kind of, well, I mean, it would be super convenient to just like deal with the filter, right? So, yeah, it would be super convenient to deal just with the filter and don't have to deal with anything else. So I think filter select is no longer needed in here, right? So yeah, this is how we initialized everything in here. And we're gonna connect this stuff quite nicely. Filter list. This one's gonna be filter list, but how this entire thing is gonna be called? Filter list. I don't know, I'm gonna call it underscore. At least for now, I'm not sure how to call that. But what I'm gonna do in here is I'm gonna do filter list just to test it out, right? I just want to test it out and see if it works or not. So yeah. So an our framework basically consists of composing these components together, essentially, right? So it's basically like having no framework whatsoever. And there we go. Here are the filters. So believe it or not, here are all of the filters in here. So another interesting thing is that select filter, just a second, can I wrap it into a div? Right, can I wrap it into a div and have it as a widget element? So it's basically aligned properly. So it's gonna be a widget element. I think that should work, and there we go, it is aligned perfectly. So, and also it handles, yeah, so let me take a look at the errors. Does it have any errors? It doesn't seem to be, this onChange is not a function. Okay, so I wonder why it is not a function. Excuse me, are you sure about that? Huh. Were we always having this error? Oh, so this. Maybe instead of this, we have to use the result now? How about that? This result. Let me just do that, and then let's go in here. And was it always broken? Just a second. Was it always broken? No, it wasn't. Why is it broken specifically for me? Excuse me. This onChange filter select. Why is this not a function? I'm really confused because the result is a select, right? Result is a select, and it just doesn't have that. Is that because we don't handle this thing in any way? Well, I mean, it's probably not. Maybe I copy-pasted something incorrectly. All right, let's make a cup of tea. All right, so I'm back, champion of the arena, and I'm trying to understand what the fuck has happened and why doesn't it work. So let me try to print this thing, just to see what the fuck is the result. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding what the hell is the result. Let me see. So this is the stuff, and I'm trying to do this thing. It is a select, but you don't have an on change for that select. Okay, so but can I do that thing on this one? I can do that. So let's find another on change. Let's find another on change, and let's actually print this, right, to see what's the difference between them. What is so special about this thing? All right, so yeah, so it has ID filters. I don't know, to be fair. So that is really strange. Like, this one is also select, but it cannot handle, but it doesn't have on change for some reason. Is that because I constructed it in a particular, like, weird way? Okay, JavaScript. So let me take a look at the error. Let me take a look at the error and just see. Maybe we can Google this thing up. All right, HTML select element. Okay, HTML select element on change. Right, is there any problems? This is probably because we changed it. Or because we actually said it. I see. This is because we actually set it. And before that it didn't exist, that's why. Okay, that's very interesting. I guess that's the explanation in here. Filter select, all right. So is there any way to trigger onChanged but without calling this function directly? Like, do I have to dispatch a change event? Okay, so HTML select element trigger onChange, right? OnChange trigger for already selected elements, blah blah blah. Bind, focus on, bind, change. So maybe I have to actually call change but not on change. Is that what I have to do? So what if I do something like change? Right. Well, I have to actually find this change and put it in here. All right, so is it gonna work? No, it's still not a thing. It is still not a change, is not a function. All right, but onChange is also not a function, and this is because we never actually set it, because we set everything through the event listeners. So I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so let's actually see some discussions of this thing. Has been something simple. I searched internet and I found syntax error and cause. Okay. All right, and on change. Okay, so this is a typo. This is not what I mean. This is not what I mean. But I mean, we can always just do it like that. I mean, since it's like an internal thing, maybe this is what we can do, right? For now, at least. So I guess, I think this is the easiest solution for now. Okay, let me see. Yeah, and it works. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna just leave it for now. Since it's encapsulated completely inside of the filter list, it probably doesn't really matter that much, right? Probably doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, we can now select these things, and it will trigger different events, and it's actually specifically will trigger filter changed, right? It triggers filter changed. So this is the filter list. Then we compose the final thing in here, and when the filter changes, we have to sort of update the actual texture. But to be able to do that, we need to finish initialization of the filter selector, right? After we did everything in here, after we enable that, we have to create the program, right? We have to create the current program. Load filter program. And maybe that's precisely what we want to copy paste into filter selector, right? That's what we want to copy paste in here. So we loaded this thing up, we initialized everything. So here's the program, load filter program. It accepts that stuff. Okay. So, and then we don't care about this thing. Custom preview, don't care about that. So this is what we need to move, mesh position, and yeah, we only have a mesh position here as far as I can tell, so that's totally fine. So let's copy paste this stuff in here, and after that we need to initialize the event loop. That's right, we're initializing the event loop, and we're like playing this entire thing. All right, so that should be all right. Okay, that's pretty poog. Pretty poog. Pretty. Filter list underscore select options, vertex attributes, and so on and so forth. So in here we're doing filter list, but now let me actually try to rerun this entire thing. Okay, so nothing particularly special. Filter selector. There we go, we have a filter selector, and let's see it crashing. Vertex attributes is not defined. Okay, so that's fair enough. Vertex attributes, this is because it's not global. Let's put this away here. Right, so it's a global thing now. Custom preview is not defined. Okay, so it's going to be 1119. Custom preview. Well, this one is very interesting. This one is rather interesting. It's width and height, but we know for a fact that custom preview emote size uniform. Oh shit. So we should keep track not only of the current program, but also of the current image that we're processing, right? So we need to have something like emote image, right? So maybe at the beginning it's going to be undefined, but when it's defined, we'll have to use emote image in here. So emote image. So this is going to be width and height. And we'll need a special function in here. We'll need a special function to handle all of that stuff. So I'm just thinking, how can we put that function? So we might as well actually put image in here, and then result something like update image, right? So this is going to be a special function like this. And what we're doing here, we accept new emote image, right? New emote image, and emote image set to new emote image. But that's not enough. What we have to do in here, we have to reload that specific texture, right? We have to reload that specific texture, but that's going to be a completely different story. So, and I suppose in here, I wonder if we can safely set all of that stuff like that. We also have a canvas in here, which is not particularly a great idea. but the canvas in this particular case is a filter preview. Right, it is a filter preview. Just a second, I lost the, okay. Filter preview, there we go. Oh boy, okay, let's take a look at other. 1.1.26. Alright, so it still throws an error, and I suppose maybe one of the things we want to do in here, we just want to check if it's available, only then we're going to set it, otherwise we're not going to set it. And there's no texture bound, okay, so that's totally fine. Luckily, WebGL context actually stops reporting errors after some time. It's already goddamn working, look at that. Oh my god, this is actually super cool, it's already working. Okay, so how we are initializing the image? So load program, create texture. Okay, so we are creating a texture from custom. Okay, I see what's going on in here. I see what's going on in here. So, and update image, we set emote image in here, and what we're essentially doing is, do we even set it anywhere? So we just created emote texture, and emote texture is just needed to delete the thing. Okay, that makes sense. So emote texture undefined, or maybe it could be like 0. Right. If emote texture is defined, we do gl delete delete texture, and we are deleting the emote texture. That's pretty much it. So that's quite important. Then we're creating a new one from the emote image. And as far as I know, that is it. That should be pretty much it. And if we refresh this entire thing, it's not going to particularly work, but that's fine because we never actually connected those things together. Right. So you have image selector, right. So let's call this something like EG, image selector, right. So it stands for like emote gem image selector. So we also put some handling in here, and then we're going to do EG filter selector, right. Selector, filter selector. So, and now I want to actually connect them together. EG image selector, right. So if image was selected, right, if image was selected, I'm going to do EG filter selector, and I'm going to do update image, e detail image data. There we go. So this is how I'm going to connect them together. And then what essentially I'm going to be doing, I'm going to getting the entry, right? I'm getting the entry, and I'm appending a child div. And that's a good question. That's a good question. So maybe I'm going to just do a very simple thing where I do EG image selector, it's one thing, and then EG filter selector. There we go. So I have two components, and I put these components together. That's actually pretty cool, right? Image selector emits images. Image filter consumes those images and just displays them and lets you select a filter. And then we're going to have a second component for rendering, right? And when you click a render, it will ask filter selector, I suppose, to render a sequence of images and whatnot. And then we're gonna get like a GIF or something. So yeah, we're already basically decoupling this entire spaghetti into something more manageable. Hopefully we'll see if it becomes more manageable, but I really wanted to have like these small separate components that you just wire up together and they just send information between each other. So, and yeah, so then we can separate them completely. They can be completely decoupled, and maybe it's gonna be manageable again. I don't know, we'll see, the winner gets tea. And also this is going to be like a testimony of our framework in production. As we start using this framework in production, we'll see what needs to be added into the framework, what kind of things, because like doing things like that is not particularly convenient, as you can see, right? So if you're interested in particular sub-DOM, you have to extract it into a separate variable, which actually makes reading the entire DOM kind of difficult. Right, it would be way better to somehow inline specify the ID of this thing and being able to refer to that ID in here. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll see. Anyway, if I try to refresh this entire thing, is it working? It is not working. Okay, 59, and it was trying to do something strange. This is because I forgot to save everything. Okay, there's no texture bound. It actually, all right. So if I update, okay, filters are not updated, but are images updated? They are, believe it or not. I can update the images now, and that thing updates them accordingly. So we have two components which are connected together, but this component doesn't update the filters. So this is probably something that we'll have to do. This component doesn't update the filters. So filter selector. All right, so we have just a filter list, and the filter list says filter changed, right? So we do like a load. All right. Maybe that's precisely what we want to do in here. So it's going to be filter list underscore add event listener, right? Add event listener. And the event we're listening to is filter changed, right? Filter changed, and so here we're going to be accepting events. And the cool thing about this stuff is that, okay, this can be program undefined. We can just move this entire thing like that. This is the program. Load filter e details filter, right? So we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. I think because we're sending the whole filter in here. Yes, we're sending the whole filter in there. All right, that's pretty poke. Right, everything seems to be initializing here. To be fair, I think the Opengl initialization, the whole Opengl initialization should be done somewhere up there, right? So this is purely Opengl stuff. And mesh position and whatnot. Right, and one of the things we can do is just wrap this entire thing into its own sort of like a scope. Right. So this is going to be a scope, and this is initialize JL, right? So we take the context and we initialize it. Maybe at some point this thing is going to be extracted to a separate procedure. All right. So when we also add a special method in here to update the image, right? To update the image. So we're updating this entire thing. We delete the texture. We update this thing. So we also, for the filter list, we handle filter changed, and then we load a new filter every time. Okay, so in here, essentially what we have is an event loop, right? So it's not really event loop, but it's a rendering loop. Let's actually call it rendering loop. Rendering loop. Okay. Cool. So this is some sort of a state. We get the GL, we initialize it and everything, and okay, that looks fine, more or less. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so this, something went wrong, definitely. Cannot read property time uniform of undefined. Okay, 1136. Program time uniform. All right, so maybe that thing has to be something like this. If program, right, only then try to do something about it. Also, when I load filter, do I delete the program somehow? Oh yeah, we also need to delete it. I see. So it has to be something like this. If program, don't forget to delete its ID, right? It's a similar thing in here, like with the texture, right? If it's defined, don't forget to delete it and stuff like that. All right, so let's try to refresh this entire thing. And draw arrays, no valid shader program in use. Okay, so I kind of expected that. So filter list doesn't throw, how to say that, doesn't actually emit the first ever event, right? Basically, when you create it, it doesn't really do anything, right? So what we need to do, we need to emit first filter changed event. That's probably what we need to do in here. So it's going to be something like result, dispatch event, and what we're going to be dispatching in here, well, I suppose we're going to be dispatching this thing, right? So a little bit of a code duplicate, but that's fine. That is totally fine. Right, so this is like the first thing. So it would be kind of cool to have a function actually, right, where you put this entire thing, right, and so this entire stuff simply becomes f, and then you call f only once. And you call f only once. To be fair, I'm an idiot. I could have. Oh my god, what the fuck am I doing? Right. I could just call result unchanged, precisely the same thing as I do in here. Okay, so I set unchanged, and yeah, there we go. So that's pretty pogue. That's pretty pogue. Can we have anything in here? And well, no valid shader program, but at the same time it just does something, but it still says that there is no valid program in use, which is kind of sus, not gonna lie. It feels like it never actually received that thing. Ah, I see. I think I know what the fuck is going on here. Because we create this thing, the event is fired. The event is fired, but the event is fired, but we have not set up the handler for that event yet. That's precisely what happened in here. So nothing much to say. Nothing much to say. So I suppose we need to, maybe since we know the filter list, maybe we can specify some sort of like a function in here. So it's going to be a selected filter, right? And this one is going to be just a function which simply returns the selected filter. Nothing particularly special, right? Something like this. Here's your selected filter, and we might as well even do something like selected filter, like this, right? So it's a result selected filter, and we don't need to do that thing anymore, right? We don't need to do that thing anymore. And when we are creating a program, right? When we are creating a program, we want to actually load this thing up like this. Right, so this is going to be a program, right? So instead of this stuff, we're going to be doing filter list underscore selected filter, please. There we go. We have a selected filter, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much everything I wanted to do in here. And maybe we're going to do a similar thing for emote images, but for now, this thing should just work. So there's no JL in here, so maybe that's because we have to put things. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's put them somewhere here. Maybe that's where we have to put them. Who knows? All right, are you gonna work now? All right, everything seems to be working, and I also have a print when I select a change console log. Yeah, we shouldn't have that. Okay, so I can already, as you can see, I want to keep the console on. I can already select this. Okay, filtered. Okay. The fuck. Okay, 130. detail filter is not defined. Why are you saying that? Filter detail filter detail details. Okay. I'm starting to make typos. Okay, so we have that. Or you can select different things in here, as you can see. So, and yeah, all of these like two things are separate components. These are separate components. Cool. The only problem we have in here is that on the first load, it throws an error that there is no like texture in here, and that's a huge problem in my opinion. That's a huge problem. So I suppose one of the things we need to do in here is maybe like we do update images, right? So we need to be able to do something like image filter selector, and maybe we need to specify like the first image, right? So a G image selector, so selected image, right? Something like this. So filter selector is going to accept the image here. Oh, you know what would be cooler? Maybe filter selector should accept the image selector and it will automatically wire everything out, but that will actually couple them in one direction. So maybe it's not particularly great idea, but yeah, filter selector, so initial image, right? Initial image data. So that's what it's going to be called. And image selector is going to introduce a method result. Selected image, right? So this is the selected image. It's going to be a function that simply returns image preview. So that's basically what it is. So it just exposes that thing for you. Simply exposes that thing for you. Selected image, there we go. So we have that. Filter selector then has initial image data, and I'm pretty sure we don't need to do undefined here anymore. So what we essentially can do, emote image init initial image data, and then we just create this thing like that. There we go. So we initialize everything first. Okay. And everything seems to be okay. So everything works fine. I can now also select some of the values in here, right? And all of that is automatically updated. That is goddamn cool. I really like that. So yeah, we separated yet another component in here. We have separated yet another component, and the way you wire up these two components is just like you create them, right? And you set up their events and event handlers, and then yeah, you just put them onto the DOM, and that's it. So yeah, they're completely isolated from each other. So now we need to create the renderer. Image, so filter selector, so this is a filter list, image selector, and the thing we're going to have in here is probably a GIF renderer, right? So this is going to be a GIF renderer. So the GIF renderer consists of different things in here, right? It consists, actually, in fact, it consists of a button, progress bar, and this circular thingy, and probably also download button, right? It consists of a lot of different things. So this could be the whole its own component, right? This could be its own component, and I don't know, maybe on a render it's going to be emit an issue, and whoever wires up things together is going to handle this render issue and then send some signal to the filter selector. Filter selector will render everything for you because it's responsible for the GL context and whatnot, right? And that's pretty much it, I guess. I don't know. That's how we're going to handle all this. We'll see. So maybe we could split up components even further. For instance, maybe the progress bar could be its own component. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. So let me take a look at what we have in there. I wonder if I can already integrate these things together. I wonder if I can integrate them and get rid of some of this shading here. So because if we press the render button, right, so we have a render button, we're looking for GIF, so then we take a file. So we need all of that to get like the file name and whatnot, right? But that could be actually extracted into the file selector. We can add file selector a method that will actually like do all of that for us. And then we call for a render, and that could be a method of, well, depends. Render actually, I think, yeah, it actually looks for these components and updates them and whatnot, so it has like a state and shit. But for now, it could be all right, I think. So render preview, so unfinished. Render preview. Does it try to access? So okay, so it only by itself. To be fair, render is already like a render component by itself. It encapsulates all 4 things in here. Okay. I guess that makes sense. We also have a GIF. Where's the render button? Render button. So we also have a GIF. It's undefined, and then what do we use GIF for? Why are we? Oh, we need that to actually abort this entire thing. I see. And we're okay. So that could be actually also, you know, handled internally. That could be also handled internally. Okay, so I suppose, yeah, this is basically the renderer, the GIF renderer. All right, I want to make a small break before we're going to extract the render component, and if we'll be able to extract all 3 components, maybe we'll be able to finally make a pull request and yeah, finally decompose this entire thing somehow. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Small break. So I don't really have that much time left, so I have the following idea. Let's basically stop extracting the components and leave the render components for later, right? So this is going to be a separate issue. So what I want to try to do now, I want to try to integrate both of these components back into the main page and wire them up into the spaghetti that is render the GIF. And for extracting the renderer, again, we're going to have a separate issue. I think it's going to be a pretty good conclusion on today's stream. So so obviously, like, our framework doesn't really help us in developing these components, but what it actually tells us is that we need some sort of more convenient mechanisms of sending information between the components, right? So we established a way of creating the components, but now we want to actually send information between them, and we need to figure out how to do that. Right now we're doing that through events and whatnot, and that's a little bit cumbersome, but at least that tells us that we need to do something about that, right? So that's basically what it tells. Let me see what we can do in here. So maybe for now, I'm gonna actually just do a committee, right? So Grecia integration, right? So this is what we're gonna have in here. All right, so in here, what we did is extract image selector and filter selector Grecia components, right? So, and I'm gonna push that. Whether I'm gonna push that or not, I don't know. Maybe I'm not gonna push that because maybe somebody's watching my repos and it's gonna be spoiler for them of what I'm doing. So let's not do that for now. Okay, let's go to the on load for the window. All right. So we have a testing in here. So this is the filter selector. I already extracted that. I also extracted that, and I extracted that. The canvas is extracted. This thing is also extracted. Yeah, we also extracted that. GIF is quite important. So yeah, so here is the drag and drop, and I'm not quite sure how we're gonna handle all that, but I'm pretty sure we don't need a custom preview in here. So we don't need that. We already extracted that to separate components. All of that is also extracted. Drag and drop is not extracted yet, but we'll have to do something about that. And here is the render button. Here's the render button, and that one is the most interesting one. Okay, so let me get rid of these things. So I'm going to be moving this entire stuff in here. Mesh position. Mesh position is already extracted into a separate component, and event loop is also already extracted. So the point of extracting all these components is to reduce the size of this entire function. Right, as you can see, the size of this function became just this, and it's going to become even smaller because we can probably extract these things somewhere. Maybe not. I've not decided yet, but that will be actually kind of interesting. So prevent default. So I'm just thinking, does it make sense to move it inside of the image selector or just keep it in here? That will be interesting. So if we want to actually keep it in here, maybe one of the things we'll have to do in here is just eg image selector, and here we're gonna do something like I don't know, like update files, right? Update files, and we're gonna just like sending it in here, and that's gonna be our event handler. And yeah, maybe that will do the trick. I'm not sure yet. So let me see. Let me see. All right. So image selector, filter selector, we connect them together. This is the entry. We're gonna keep them in there. And then we set everything up. And here is the le button. Right, so render button is going to be that. So what we're doing here, we're extracting custom file path. So this thing should be extracted to filter selector, I think. Filter selector. Oh, let's quickly do that. So we don't really have that much time, so I don't know what I'm waiting for. Filter selector, right? So in here, this is not a filter selector, or is it? Image selector, that's what we need here. So we have a selected image, and in here we're gonna have a selected file name. Yes. Selected file name, this is what we're going to call it here. So, and essentially what we're doing is, so custom file, I suppose custom file with input, so that means we have to do something like image input. We take the zeros one, then if it's a file, we remove extension, otherwise we don't do anything. Okay, so all right, so that's what we want to have in here. And now we can remove this entire thing, and in here is going to be eg image selector, selected file name, and this is a function that we call in here. There we go. So selected file name, and maybe it's pretty long thing, so let's actually put it somewhere here. It's going to be const file name, like this, and this is going to be file name. There we go. Cool. So we moved it inside. It doesn't depend on any of this stuff. So we also provide a canvas and a program, and I'm not sure why do we need canvas in there. I'm pretty sure we need a canvas in there for the size and whatnot, so we don't really need canvas to modify something and call something on canvas. Let me actually see. So if I take a look at the function render, right, so what do we use canvas for? We literally use it only for the size. Oh my god, come on. And the size of the canvas is actually standardized. It's actually fixed to 112. So we can quite easily get rid of this entire component. And the only thing we'll need to have here is GL and program, and we can extract them from the filter selector. All right, so that's actually pretty promising, I would say. Pretty promising. So, but I still want to like extract these, like do something about this thing. So this one is not going anywhere, as you can see. So I still want to do something about this one. So it has something to do with the image selector. It must have something to do with the image selector. All right, update files, right? So it's going to be something like that, and we're just sending this thing in here, and we're going to be moving it there. So image selector. So here comes another function. So selected image, selected file name, and here comes update files. Result update files. So it's going to be function files, and in here, what we're doing essentially. So we call on change. So we'll have to test all of that at some point, but I'm not kind of sure. Image input. All right, so this one is image input files. So this is the files that we're sending in there, and then we have to do image input on change. And okay, so let's do the same thing here on change as well. So maybe later it's going to be slightly different, who knows. And this one event, we don't even use events from here, right? So it's going to be like that. So select update files and whatnot. All right. So everything looks okay. So these things kind of want to be classes, but I'm not sure how to make classes that also expand existing nodes and whatnot. So that's why I'm sort of like monkey patching them, or if it makes any sense. All right, so yeah, when we do a drop, we print this thing, we update the files, and then we do that thing. All right, so here's the render button. Yeah, now let me try to see what we have in here. So function render. I'm thinking I'm gonna do the following thing. It's gonna be canvas width 112 and canvas height, right? And in function render, we're never gonna be actually sending this stuff. I'm gonna query replace canvas. You know what? I'm gonna query replacing it with a regular expression. So it's gonna be canvas dot, and this one is going to be width or height, right? It's gonna be width or height, and we're gonna be replacing this entire thing with canvas, and I need to actually bring it to upper, right? So I remember Emacs actually capable of doing that. Regex, yeah, I already googled it up. Yeah, so essentially you can replace width to upper. Yeah, this is what you can do in here. This is actually super cool. So we can do slash comma like this. Upcase, I suppose. That's what I want to do in here, right? And it didn't work. Okay, one more time. I wonder why though. I wonder why. So this is probably because it wasn't captured properly, probably. So let's try to do it something like this. I wonder if this kind of thing works. So we want to have like a bunch of this. Okay, and it worked. As you can see, you can actually call functions, but I screwed up a little bit. Right, so I don't have to, I think I don't have to put these things in here. Right, perfect, look at that. Yes, that's what you can do in Emacs. Can your Vim do that? Can your Vim replace, search and replace, but also transform captured groups? Can you do that? I don't think so. Maybe Vim can, like with enough extensions, you can actually implement something like that. But maybe it does have something like this. By default without any additional stuff. So okay, so render, we don't need the canvas anymore, but now we need to get GL and program from somewhere. Where can we get it from? To be fair, the easiest way to do this kind of stuff would be to actually make a render a method of filter selector. Right, so that's going to be the easiest thing to do, just to make it a method of filter selector. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so filter selector. So filter selector is quite huge, and let me find the function render. So here's this entire stuff, and let's actually literally move it there. So filter. Why Emacs is selecting shit? Filter selector. Okay. So here are, where are the methods? So we have update images, and in here we're gonna have something like result, and it's going to be render, and we don't have to accept GL end program anymore, right? Because we do have an access to these things. All of that is literally here. So, and we search for these components in here. All right, we search for them in here. We update this entire stuff. Give on, blah blah blah, and this returns the give that you can then. Okay, so this is fine. All right, so yeah, essentially we can do ag filter selector like this. Don't have to provide any of this stuff, and there we go. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty cool. So all right, so we simplified the size of this like main entrance function. So I wonder if this entire thing is going to work. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So let me close everything in here. Let me close everything because I already opened too many things, and it's going to be localhost 6969. Okay, so we have these testing things. Nothing here works, which is fine. Right, and now if I try to, okay, let me open the console and see if we don't have any errors in here. We don't see any errors. I can change things around, right, and I can update the image. And now can I try to render this entire thing? And GL is not defined. Nice. 1207, but I never saved this entire thing, of course. Okay. Yeah, what it was testing, I don't know what it was testing. So let's actually test the default parameters in here. Right, so none of that is working, so that's fine. Let's try to render this entire thing, and it's doing something, and it rendered successfully. Okay, so can I download this thing? It downloaded successfully. Nothing much to complain about. Nothing much to complain about. So now, can I change this thing? And I can change this stuff. Right, and let me try to render it one more time, and it should render a different thing. So is it corresponding to that? Okay, so that seems to be corresponding. Can I download this thing? So 5-head GIF. So if I go here and find the 5-head GIF and I open it in the Chromium, of course, do whatever you need to do, and seems to be working. Seems to be working. Okay, so yeah, apparently I reorganized everything, and it didn't even break that much. So I can also try to check the drag and drop situation. So let's try this one. Did it work? It didn't work. Yay! Oh, I mean, it actually worked. Okay. So because now these are different things and everything works. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very much okay. Also, well, it used to actually keep it with a particular size, and I don't remember how I fixed that. Select an image. So I don't quite remember. I think I fixed this size. So here's the ID custom preview. I think I fixed it in CSS. I think that's where I fixed it. Custom preview. Yeah, I just set the width to 112. Okay, so I can actually fix that in the JS. No big deal. Image selector. So we have an image preview. So we have some shit in here, and I might as well set. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? Emacs, just work. Okay, att width width, and it's gonna be canvas width. There we go, canvas width. And now if I select a big file, something like this, it keeps it relative. Does it keep it relatively small? I don't know. Did I refresh things? So I need a big file. I need a big boy file. I didn't do shit. Okay, so it's a width. Okay, I'm already tired. All right, I'm already tired. I'm starting to make very stupid mistakes. Okay, so it seems to be working. All right, so now what I need to do, I need to place all of these components. I need to place all of these components in their corresponding places, right? So you see we have just dead DOM elements in here. These are the components that created using our frameworks, but these things are dead. So we need to get rid of them, and we need to place something else in them. Well, we need to specifically, like, how to say that, deploy these elements in these sort of places. So that's what we need to do. So what else I think I had to do for drag and drop, which is not needed anymore. Yeah, we already fixed that. We already fixed that. Cool. Oh, and by the way, here I probably can do something like canvas width and canvas height. There we go. So that's what we're gonna have in here. So do we have 1, 1, 2 anywhere else? Okay, so we're just depend on these constants now. We just depend on these constants. So drag and drop from anywhere. All right. So I'm just contemplating how I'm gonna start all of that. Okay. Extract renderer as a separate Grecia.js component, similar to image selector and filter selector. Right, image selector and filter selector. So right now nothing is extracted in here. Nothing is extracted. As a matter of fact, the renderer is basically merged with the filter selector because they share a lot of information in there. So that's what they need. That's what they need in there. All right, so let's actually go into the index.html. Let's go into the index.html, and in here I'm going to remove the testing section. We don't have it anymore. So this one is going to be rather interesting, I think. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So this entire thing, how are we going to deploy all of this stuff? So maybe it's going to be, I don't know, just a regular div. Just a regular div with the ID, image selector entry. Right, something like this. Image selector entry. So this is where we're gonna deploy all of that, and here comes the filter selector. Filter selector entry, and we're gonna put all of these things in there, I suppose. So here's that. We connect them together, and the thing I'm gonna do, image selector entry, and it's gonna be append child aj image selector, right? And then filter selector entry append child ag filter selector. There we go. So do we have, is it working now? It seems to be working now. I don't see any problems right now. So, oh, okay, sure. Texture not bound. I wonder why. So it worked perfectly, but now it doesn't work. I wonder if this is because we need to sort of deploy this thing like that. I'm not quite sure. Like, I mean, it obviously it works now, but something just doesn't work at the beginning, right? It cannot create the texture properly for the first time. And filter selector on window load. So, and why can it do that? Why can't this thing do that yet? Is that because it's, I don't know. Oh, this is interesting. Wait a second. Still doesn't work. So it just like needs some time to load everything. Oh shit, and this thing, oh my god. Oh yeah, I see. Thanks. Oh shit. Alright. Because the selected image is not selected. I remember this kind of thing. Yeah. Selected image is not selected. Is not selected yet. So what we can do in here. So the image selector, right? Image selector. When it loads everything, right? When this thing loads everything, how are we gonna do that? Well, I don't know. I guess we need to go back to having like undefines in programs and images inside of the filter selector. Yeah, we'll have to do something like that. Okay. So filter selector, filter, so basically here, right? Oh, actually I need to move filter changed up there. Just move it up there. So update image is that, and then if filter changed, we do that. Detail filter looks good to me. So my idea is to bring this back to undefined. Right. Bring this back to undefined until everything initialized. What's interesting is that when we're rendering everything, I suppose we shouldn't even try to maybe do the actual draw unless we have a program, right? So here we're basically just setting the background color. Then if we have a program, we set the uniforms. If we have an image, we set the uniforms for the image, and then we draw. So as far as I know, if you don't have a valid program, you won't be able to even draw. So yeah, I guess that's fine. That is fine. So because of that, we don't need initial image data, right? Initial image data is not even used anywhere anymore. So it's going to be initialized as soon as possible, as soon as you get a filter or as soon as you get an image, everything is going to be there. But for the program, to be fair, we could load the program with the selected filters, so it's not really needed for the program. All right, so that means I can do something like filter list, selected filter. I think that's what it is. So I can do that for the program, but for the image, I will have to wait until it's loaded up. Right, so here I create this image thingy. then I create the filter, right, filter selector, then I connect them together, and then I'm adding them to this entire stuff. Maybe I'm gonna add the filter first and then the image, and as far as I can understand, once I add the image, it will perform the query. Query the image, and then on load it will send the event image selected. I guess that's how it's gonna work. All right, so we have to be a little bit more agile in this particular case. And okay, so there's no texture bound to, well, I mean, that's understandable. That is understandable that there is no texture bound to anything yet. And I wonder if that's a big problem in here, to be fair. Render warning. Well, at first, right, it still tries to do that even though there is no image. Okay, image texture problem. Okay, here's my idea. Let's actually do it like this. We're gonna render things only if we have a valid program and a valid image. Okay, I think that's fair enough, right? Until everything is loaded up, we don't even try to do any of these things, right? And of course it works, right? It in fact works. Isn't that exciting? I think it's goddamn exciting. All right, so in here I can just render this entire thing. All right, and I can select some other things. So let's actually try the drag and drop. Drag and drop seems to be working. Different filters, loading, rendering, something like this in here. Let's also render one more time, and I guess it is working, right? So we extracted everything and decoupled everything into separate components, right? So now these things are their own components, except the render though, but I mean, we'll work on that. So that was very educational, I would say, because by using this small framework, I now gathered enough information to understand what framework needs. And from here, I can clearly see that you need to be able to send somehow signals between the components. And right now we're using events, but for some reason, this kind of, you know, reminds me of like a cute signal in slots. I wonder if we can take the idea of cute signal in slots and adapt it for our framework, so you could just have like these things could become well, I mean, something like update image, like update files, right? This something like this could become a slot, and something that creates like updated file signal could become a signal, and you can just connect them together somehow, right? That would be interesting, actually. You know, some inspiration from Qt, but I don't know yet. It's just like a random thoughts that I'm having. It's just a random thoughts that I'm having. So let's actually do a committee. So extract blah blah blah. Integrate image selector and filter selector into the main application, right? Into the main application. All right, so did I create to do? Yeah, I created only one to do. All right, so let's create a pull request. So it's gonna be emote jam. Emote jam. Did I don't remember if I pushed it. Okay, so I need to push it first before I can even create a pull request. Compare and pull request. Grecha JS integration. That's what it is. So how many changes did we make? We didn't even make that many changes, right? We didn't make that many changes, but we definitely, I think, improved the situation more or less. And you know what? We added a couple of things into the framework, so I think it would make sense to contribute them back. Right, so let's copy paste this entire thing, replace it, and so this is the things that we added, right? So we added select mundane tag and input tag. Okay, add select and input tag. You see, it's a very lightweight framework. It's almost like having no framework at all. And I want to keep it that way. I really want to keep it that way. So it's like very, very, very thin layer. All right. So yeah, we did it. We actually did it. We extracted these things into their own components, and it's working fine. Well, except this thing, but we're gonna work on that later. All right. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. We really appreciate it. Have a good one, and I see you on the next offline session. So I'm gonna be back on Twitch on probably on June 12th, but I can't promise anything. It just depends on my state at that particular date. So yeah, maybe see you all live on June 12th. We'll see. Thanks everyone for watching. Love you all.